Okay, let's move on to gasketing, coming to you from our Chicago location. I'm on location at our Chicago location. So gasketing is the next definition in the technical data series. We've left the F's and we're now in the G's. We're in the gasketing section. We're moving there. We're moving there. So gasketing, material, and I'm reading it, material applied around the door or frame to close the clearance opening and minimize or restrict passage of smoke, light, sound, or weather. Right on. Material applied around a door or frame to close the clearance opening and minimize or restrict the passage of smoke, light, sound, or weather. I might add something to the effect that at times gasketing is required to give you a complete rated assembly, whether it be smoke rated, fire rated, whatever it might be. I might also add to that definition that if you do have a rated opening, make sure that all of your gasketing components are ordered as rated. According to NFPA 80, you're going to need to have visual evidence of material being permissible for use on a fire rated assembly. So gasketing is going to include, well, let's talk about what gasketing is going to include. So gasketing is going to include perimeter gasketing in the sense of 2 jambs and a header, or 2 jambs, a header, and a sill, or a door sweep, a threshold, a drip cap, and then countless varieties and derivatives of that sort of material. Under each of those kind of primary categories, door bottoms, let's say, rather than sweeps, let's say door bottoms, you're going to have automatic door bottoms, surface mounted, L-shaped, U-shaped, and then countless base material, not countless, but altogether, countless base materials, finishes, insert materials. When it comes to thresholds, you're going to have the common ubiquitous saddle, half saddle, latch tracker, panic, or bump up style threshold, floor plates, on and on and on. When it comes to perimeter gasketing, every insert item possible, whether it be, and here are the inserts, vinyl, or silicone, or neoprene, or polyurethane, derivative synthetic rubbers of all of this type of stuff, different anodized finishes, different finishes on bronze base material. You can have plastic, you can have curved in style, mechanically fastened, self-adhesive, on and on and on. You're going to be able to look at your specialty items like spring bronze gasketing, or V-cushion bronze gasketing, or interlocking gasketing in zinc or bronze material that you'd see primarily on wood doors. You're going to be able to talk about automatic door bottoms when it comes to a lot of this stuff. You're going to talk about interlocking or water return thresholds when it comes to gasketing. Now, not all of that is going to be permissible or typical for use on a hollow metal door and frame, but in the realm of gasketing, my suggestion is that we just look at a catalog. And I can't tell you how many times, how many countless tens of thousands of times I've flipped through, and now this, I've flipped through catalogs. And it's, depending on the gasketing manufacturer you're dealing with, it might, and I'll name names, it might be someone like Dorbin, in the sense that if you're from the Midwest, particularly Chicago, you're going to know the name Dorbin. They've been a weather stripping supplier for decades, since the 1930s for sure. They're going to have a relatively petite footprint in the sense that they're going to have all the stuff you're going to need. They're not going to have some of the unusual items. Like, you're not going to get a 14-inch saddle threshold from them, but you can from others or other company. They're going to have all the common items, but again, not the specialty items, but they have all the bases covered. You get into another regional manufacturer like Reese, who I am quite partial to. Why? Well, let's go back. Dorbin. I like Dorbin in the sense that it's the first name that I knew in weather stripping when I started in this industry. I can't tell you that I'm partial to them for several and many reasons, that I'll just keep that information to myself, but Dorbin is a manufacturer that's on the map, and they're probably going to be here for a long time to come. I do like Reese a lot. I like their extrusions in terms of the thickness. I like the quality of their finish on dark bronze. They, like Dorbin, have a relatively petite footprint. They've got all the stuff you're always going to use. They've got some of the oddball stuff. They have STC rated material, and I do really appreciate them. You're going to get into the bigger names. Well, let's stick with the smaller names. Combo Aluminum Products, they do a lot of residential material. We've got their catalog on the site. Draft Seal, they're a Canadian company, and they're now owned by National Guard. Draft Seal they've got that 14-inch saddle. It'll be a 2-piece. It'll be a thermal breaker, maybe even a 3-piece. You can do 2 pieces. I think what they do is they take like maybe a 10-inch saddle and they rip it, and then they take 2 7-inch pieces and say, there you go, there's 14-inch. But you can do it, and we actually sell those. What's weird is we sell more odd threshold sizes than we do typical door sweeps from them. I do understand that National Guard now owns Draft Seal. They are in Vancouver, Canada. So if you're going to look at their catalog, keep in mind there's going to be some freight involved on that. Let's slide into National Guard, a name that's been around for several decades. They've, again, got all the bases covered, and I do like them for lots of reasons. Relatively recently, they've got into lights and louvers. They now own an Hemostat, a light and louver manufacturer. They can do sliding door hardware, and the people there are just really nice. Moving over to Zero, used to be a company in Brooklyn, bought by Allegion probably 5 years ago. And Zero has got a catalog full of material that's going to be, you're going to get the regular stuff from them, no doubt. But if you're looking for specialty items, and in particular STC-rated openings, and really big, high-quality automatic door bottoms, you're going to want to think about Zero. You're going to want to take a look at their catalog. Leaving Zero, what kind of dovetails is the company Legacy. They are the people that were Zero. They got out of their non-compete agreement, and Legacy is born. If you take a look at their catalog, they've put a lot of effort into giving a cross-reference chart. Here's the Legacy number if you're looking for this Zero number. Hager, a company in business since the Civil War, they offer lots of weather stripping options as well. There's going to be also other derivative companies that you're not going to think of as weather stripping that you can get thresholds and sweeps out of, like Cal Royal and people like that. There's another name that I'm forgetting, but it's not coming to my mind. Legacy, Zero Legacy. I think we've covered all the big names. So how it all applies to hollow metal, I think what we'll do is let's just switch over to the screen view, and let's take a closer look at what would be the typical items that you're always going to need, a little information about hardware compatible gasketing, and we'll just probably scroll through randomly on the page, and we'll talk about, if you're doing hollow metal, this is probably what you're looking for. So let's do that right now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, dokie, so let's take a look at, you can't go wrong with any manufacturer's catalog. Obviously, you're going to have your PEMCO. That's going to give you lots of options, but everyone's been in that. Let's look at a catalog that people may not have seen. So what we're going to do there is we're going to click on, I clicked on it. We're just going to click on the first item. And then when that comes up, go ahead and click on the manufacturer's logo that's here. And then when that fires up, you can click on their catalog. Survey says, there it is. So scroll down to the door hardware catalog. And so as I scroll through here, and I like Reese for the reasons I mentioned earlier and several others, table of contents, part number drawing, a legend as to what their icons mean, the same blah, blah, blah that you see in the beginning of any manufacturer's catalog. Probably important to read once in your career, and then after that, you'll know where to refer to that material. Now, they have some, they have, and others do, to receive UL label on parts, prefix F, prefix when ordering. Really important to do that. Now, in my experience, that is a situation on fire doors that's not looked for. I've never really, I don't have much experience where someone has had an inspector on the site and said, hey, there's no labels on these door sweeps. But word to the wise, if you need labeled material, don't put you and your client in the position where you don't have labeled material. So be sure to have labeled material. You just order it. I don't believe there's an upcharge, and if there is, it's tiny. So air infiltration tests, good to know. Soundproofing. So the manufacturer that you're dealing with, if you're dealing with an STC opening, they may have a chart. Reese does, Zero most absolutely does, Legacy does, Pemco I'm quite sure does, National Guard very likely does. The smaller the draft seals, the door bins, the combos, they're probably not going to have any of that stuff. So be mindful of that. If you're looking for those charts and whatnot, you may not see that. Now, one thing about National Guard that they get into as a gasketing manufacturer, and it absolutely applies to hollow metal, is gap control material. Meaning you've got a gap between a door and a jamb, or a door and a header, or a pair of doors, and you're going to need a you're going to need a standard compliant way, meaning a way by which it's been tested and approved for use on fire doors to close up that gap. And we're going to go there as soon as that page loads. So as we go back to the Reese catalog, yeah, they've got the usual suspects, the saddle thresholds, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch sort of items. Some derivatives, a real heavy-duty version of a 5x1/2 saddle, wider saddles, 6, 7 inch, 8 inch, offset saddles where you've got 2 different floor surfaces that you're transitioning, stainless steel, a fiberglass threshold. If you're doing a pool enclosure, you might want that. Thermal break is fun. That would be very appropriate for hollow metal. All of this would be appropriate for hollow metal so far. Now, as we continue to scroll through, lots of thermal break, we're going to get to bump up or latch track or panic thresholds. Before we do that, flat plates, not unusual to have that material according half saddle material if you're transitioning to disparate floor surfaces. Offset panic thresholds, it'd be odd to see those before the panic thresholds. Now, this is a great example of the hollow metal world. If you see somewhere where it says 1/2 inch undercut, that's not common or typical. What's typical is 3/4 inch undercut. But if you see a situation where they're calling out a 1/2 inch undercut and you've got thresholds, yeah, you're looking for something like the S486 and not the S488 or the S487. 1/2 inch undercut means that you're going to need a little shorter threshold for that to fit in there. And I like doing that. I don't like the standard 3/4 undercut because I would like something shorter to the ground. You get into an S483 and yeah, you're going to need to have a 5/16 undercut or maybe 3/8. If you have to do something handicap compliant and you want the benefit. So this type of bump up style or panic or latch track does a number of things. First of all, it's a bump up style. Your door is going to reside in this area, make a seal here. It's handicap compliant because it doesn't exceed a 1/2 inch, and where it exceeds a 1/4 inch in height, that change does not exceed a 1/4 inch in height is what I'm driving at. This is okay, but if the 1/4 inch to the 1/2 inch was any taller, it would not be compliant. So it's bump up style, it is handicap compliant, and it's a latch track. Imagine your Pullman latch from a surface vertical rod exit device. It's going to go right back here, and that's why they call it panic type thresholds. Imagine trying to stick a strike for an exit device down on this threshold. You won't be able to. but they go right here. Let's see. Threshold. There's your bottom latch assembly, and here comes your Pullman latch. That's what it's doing. That's what it's doing. So then with this, that swings out on the back of a big box store. You're going to have pairs of egress doors based on occupancy. It's nice. Door sweeps on the outside, seal on the inside, a good belt and suspender approach, handicap compliant. Your exit devices are super happy and snazzy. Everything's looking good. Other variants of this material without inserts, thermal brake, offset, latch track or panic thresholds, on and on and on. Interlocking and water return. If any water were to get in, you're not going to see this on hollow metal really, but any water would get in here, it would scoot its way right back out into the weep hole that's here and here. It's in the front of it as well. So you won't really see this on hollow metal. Now this S252, I love this threshold, but they've discontinued it. This is really the bee's knees. You'll have a hook strip out here. You'll have a seal here. Latch track if you need. Typical 3/4 undercut would have worked, but I think everyone's discontinued it. I spoke earlier about different inserts. Pile I didn't mention. Pile, vinyl, polyprene, a synthetic rubber, silicone, neoprene, polyurethane. That's particular to Reese. That's an exceptionally durable insert material. Threshold components, probably not going to see that in hollow metal very often. Ramps, yeah, you probably see ramps in hollow metal. Carpet and flooring transition strips, yeah, you'll see that in hollow metal. You've got suite entry doors, hallway, hotel hallway to the suite door. You're going to need something underneath there to close that sill off on a non-combustible surface material. These, what we would call high boy or low boys, you won't see this in hollow metal. That bottom inverted channel is going to tear that up. Perimeter gasketing. Okay. One thing that I like to do on perimeter gasketing is order it long and miter it at the inside corners from the header to the jamb. And Reese breaks this up by different inserts. So polyurethane, polyprene, silicone, neoprene, vinyl, and pile. Avoid vinyl at all costs, unless cost is the most important thing. And, what's the difference between all these things? Really people are talking about cost. To me, it's either someone's looking for the cheapest thing because it's just a job they have to install, or they're looking for something that's actually going to work. And if you got a person who's looking for cheapest, well, that tells you what to pick. The 807 is pretty low cost in terms of regular garden variety material. But then occasionally you'll have a client that says, oh no, I need to solve this problem, and they're not looking at price as the first determining factor. Now, hardware compatible weather strip deserves a little bit of discussion because very common in hollow metal, and where it's used is exactly what they're showing here. Imagine in your mind's eye if you installed and you'll see it when you're out there. Look at an exterior opening, and if it's got a closer or an exit device and gasketing or a coordinator, you generally have a break in continuity of the gasketing. And that's because they can't run the gasketing over the parallel arm bracket. Hardware compatible weather stripping needs to be installed first, and then your soffit applied hardware is mounted to it, just like they show here. I like this material a lot. It's not used a lot because it's certainly not cheap because it's solid aluminum and then finished. Either clear anodized aluminum, dark bronze, gold, or just mill, but you can get lots of inserts in this material as well. So if you're using soffit applied hardware, and the term soffit we've covered at length elsewhere in these videos, but here is your frame. People refer to that as the stop, and they're not wrong, but that's the soffit. That's a subcomponent of the stop, this area right here. That's where your rim exit device strike is going to go. Well, you know, if you don't put the hardware compatible gasketing on first, you're going to have an interrupt in the continuity of your weather seal. Is just the bottom line. So this would be installed first. There's no doubt before your hardware goes on. These are adjustable door stops. These are nice because you can tailor the amount of projection on the unit. They're expensive. Giving you that ability is not without cost, but you can really tailor that. If you have a door that's warped or you have a condition that changes with thermal bowing, depending on the season, you can kind of tailor that. You're going to also find principles like this in the realm of STC rating. In fact, I'm quite sure the 399 is going to be on that STC chart. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's the 599. Yeah, the 599. This is the one that you'll see on the STC chart from Reese, which is right here. 599s right here. So if you're trying to get up to an STC 46 with Reese, you would definitely be at the 599 range. And here it is, adjustable in projection. Really, really suitable for mitering at the top to get a tight seal. And you know, yeah, you're going to have to order something a couple, 3-4 inches longer, but you'll get a really nice tight seal up in the top corners of the frame. Self-adhesive material, yeah, you are for sure going to see 797 material when you have a smoke-rated door. That's going to be the Pemco S88 and the 5050 from National Guard, and on and on and on. Derivatives, varieties, you know, countless options and whatnot. Combined edge sealing smoke system smoke and draft control gasketing. Yeah, you want to dive into that. Nylon brush. Nylon brush is fun on hollow metal because nylon brush is really effective at blocking out stuff. And what I mean is, back in Chicago, which is where I am right now actually, the restaurant guys want the heavy-duty nylon brush. And it's because they know the inspector's looking for daylight. And if there's daylight, then the insects can get in. And nylon brush does a great job at keeping the insects out because it seals, but also I've been told that they don't like landing. Mosquitoes, insects don't like landing on bristle. So really common in hollow metal. Inverted bottom rail on a hollow metal door. This brush length is too long, but there are shorter versions. Pemco certainly has a shorter version that you might use in the inverted channel. I like this bristle that comes out at an angle. It presents a tremendous amount of seal on your door, yet a low resistance to that door closer getting it closed. Astragals, obviously in the realm of hollow metal, you're going to be dealing with astragals. Probably not aluminum, but you will on the steel, which is this one here. But your hollow metal doors are probably going to incorporate astragals. These are split astragals, what they call meeting style, extremely common in hollow metal in pairs of doors. Also, speaking of astragals, there is an offset astragal. National Guard has one. All your hollow metal people do. If you have a single door, you can install this. This is actually perfect. Here's your single hollow metal door, an offset astragal. National Guard calls it a security astragal. I can show you that in the National Guard catalog. We'll wait for that to load. Astragals, split astragals, pairs of doors are going to require them. I absolutely don't like anything finned like this. Pile is good. The bulbs, no good. They're just not going to seal really well. Either soft brush or nylon brush. Anything with a cover is also really nice because you're not going to see the heads of the screws. Now, one thing that's interesting is you've got aluminum. You've got steel. Hold that retainer. You've got nylon brush. And then you've got the steel screw. And yeah, that steel screw is going to rust. So you might want to consider stainless steel fasteners where you can. Plus, when you drill the hole into the hollow metal door, you've exposed the raw steel. It will rust from there as well. So that's just a fact of life with that stuff. I've had customers complain about it, and I said, listen, I didn't make the world, I just live in it. That's a hollow metal door. That's a steel door. Surface applied astragals, where they are typical pairs of wood doors on churches. You're going to have a brush or a pile and a blunt edge here that seals off really nice. 195, the magnetic material, is also really effective. I actually have some samples on it on my desk. Magnetic weather stripping, just like your refrigerator. Perfect for hollow metal. You know that you have a positive seal because it's magnetic. Interlocking, wood doors, wood frames, but you could certainly use this as at the header on a hollow metal door. You could use this on... You should be able to use this on both sides. This can be the hinge side, and you can also flip that around and make it the... Yeah, the problem is going to be the interrupt on your hardware. You're not going to see that on hollow metal because that's a pull side mount. Not unheard of to have this interlock on hollow metal. It can be done. You just don't see it often. Spring bronze is going to be seen on wood doors, wood frames, door sweeps. Lots of variety. Required equipment for exterior hollow metal doors. Polyurethane is phenomenal. Extremely tear resistant, abrasion resistant. Door bottoms, yeah, you'll have these U-shaped guys on hollow metal, but you have to think about how that applies to the clearance that you're dealing with. These are, that half inch, that's not 3/8 or 5/8, that's half inch. So that may or may not work. A lot of people will buy these big U style, even though they're not cheap, if they want to try to mask or disguise a hollow metal door that's rusting and want to get a few more years out of the rusting hollow metal door. Automatic door bottoms, really common on hollow metal. Especially STC rated material. Doors that swing in, you'll put that seal right on the outside. It only drops when the door is pushed closed, and that's really effective because if you have an in-swinging hollow metal door or an out-swinging, and you have some sort of obstacle that the door has to swing over, that if you had a traditional door sweep installed, it would drag across. Imagine the front door of a house. It's not hollow metal, although it can be, and you got a rug on the inside of that. The door glides over it, but your door sweep doesn't. Automatic door bottoms are perfect for that application. Wood door style, oh, perfect, hollow metal. This is the inverted bottom channel style. This is great. You put one of these on an outswing, you have a door sweep on the outside, you have a bump up threshold, you've got triple protection. I love that a lot. And I'll tell you, back to the thermal break material, it is incredibly astonishing as to how effective thermal break thresholds are in gasketing and thermal break hollow metal. Extremely effective at retarding the transmission or the loss of energy. Rain drip caps, extended rain drips. This is for the header. This should be required on every exterior outswinging hollow metal door, period. I am astonished as to how effective it is that this keeps water from getting down the face of the header, inside, and then down inside the steel door. If you've ever seen a rusted steel door, it's rusted at the bottom, and that's where all the water is collected, or pooling. This really kicks that water away. This drip cap is what you'll see on the bottom of the door, not on the header. A sweep that incorporates a drip cap, best of both worlds possibly. More door bottoms. Hospitality, that doesn't apply to hollow metal. Corner pads are nice because that helps cover the seal that you'll have. The lack of a seal, I should say. Your door sweep doesn't quite cover that area. These hospitality door bottoms, they're notched to allow a source of airflow for your air handler that's on the inside of the room, etc. Now, let's pull up, in conclusion, let's pull up our glossary and just take a look at the definition of the item, just in conclusion. Gasketing. Material applied around the door or frame to close the clearance opening and minimize or restrict the passage of smoke, light, sound, or weather. Again, I would add, occasionally required for the assembly to become compliant with the required rating, smoke, fire rating, things of that nature, and exterior, mandatory equipment for exterior doors, things of that nature. Be mindful of your hardware compatible gasketing. That's going to need to go on first before your hardware is applied, etc., etc. Gauge. Let's move on to gauge now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. And I realize that I didn't talk about the gap guard solutions from National Guard. They're not the only people in the world that make this, but there are not a lot of options. Let's see, they have a gap solutions catalog. So rather than to go into the full line, let's look at the gap solutions. Now, if you go into NFPA 80, they're going to be really clear about maximum and minimum, well, maximum margins on hollow metal for jam to door, etc. And I'm sure that I've covered that at length elsewhere. But if you've got a gap that exceeds what's permissible in NFPA 80, yeah, you'll be looking for some way to bring that to compliance. And National Guard they've got a comprehensive offering of a product line, their gap guard solutions, that's evolving and has saved the day more than once for hollow metal installations that have a problem, or hollow metal frames and wood doors that have a problem with margins. So I would recommend diving into this because you do bump into this with hollow metal occasionally, is no doubt. Okay, that wraps that up. Let's move on to gauge. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.